The Harris Center, making research work.
I am not a brilliant person. I work my ass off, always have. But again, being a mature student, because I came back to school at 39, I came back because I wanted to, and I was willing to put the time into it.
Hard evidence or nasty rumor. Truth lies in history, and sometimes history lies.
I was a real estate appraiser for 17 years, and during the 1980s we had the same sort of bottom fell out of the real estate that's happening now. I was off for a year, time on my hands, and happened to come across a couple of used books on, the Battle of the Atlantic, this sort of thing. They kept mentioning Newfoundland and the Newfoundland Escort Force and St. John's and et cetera, et cetera. So that sort of piqued my interest. Why is it that there's nothing in Newfoundland, there's not a plaque, or at the time there wasn't a plaque. Nobody mentioned it, everybody talked about the Americans. And so I discovered that we were a major naval base, which is you never hear about. It was actually Newfoundland history, Newfoundland naval history, World War II, that all of a sudden I found my niche, that it was the Royal Canadian Navy, which I was interested in the Battle of the Atlantic, which I was interested in St. John's, Newfoundland during World War II. So it was perfect. Here the story went, and it was in the newspaper, so it had to be true, right? That during the Second World War, Canadian military authorities were going to burn St. John's to the ground if the Germans decided to sail in through the Narrows. Battle of the Atlantic had reached a furious phase. All the U-boats, or a lot of U-boats, had started attacking the east coast of the United States. There were ships being sunk, right off the beaches, bodies washing ashore. Fear of an actual attack on St. John's was not that far-fetched. So anyway, this plan was sent out, and this newspaper article talked about it, and basically what he did is he based it on a journal article by an archivist who found these documents, and he added things that they were going to open up the tanks on the south side, let the fuel flow into the harbor and light it, creating a mushroom cloud of smoke and fire over the city and turning it into a version of hell and all this sort of stuff. Of course people were in an uproar, the damn Canadians were going to burn us to the ground, And so anyway, this myth, everybody accepted it, and I've heard it repeated, I've repeated it. I took it as being the truth. Oddly enough, one of the professors here at MUN, who is a very staunch Newfoundland nationalist, gave me a copy of these documents, saying this would make a really good paper. And as I read it, it was one of these eureka moments. No, they weren't going to burn it down. They had no intention of burning it down. They were actually afraid they might burn it down if they did certain things to their naval facilities. And what had happened is this archivist had sort of taken bits and pieces out of several documents and joined them all together, and then this journalist ran with it. He thought, great article, For instance, probably the most damning quote in this newspaper article is taken from a minutes of a meeting where all officers, senior officers of the base, the naval base here, meet to talk about the best way to destroy the facilities, the naval facilities here in St. John's. And they basically say that due to the use of wood in the buildings in St. John's, meaning the RCN buildings in St. John's, the best way to destroy them is fire. That appeared in the article as being due to the use of wood in the building in St. John's. The best way to destroy it is fire. And by the time it made the Evening Telegram, that quote had evolved into due to the use in the building of St. John's, fire. So it had progressed from being a quote taken out of context to being one that says, look, the bastards were going to burn the place to the ground. I accepted this myth that everybody talked about, and then I looked at the documents and it was, hey, that's completely wrong. That's the purpose of history, that, if, okay, this story turned out to be bogus. Maybe the stories we're getting concerning some other thing between Canada and Newfoundland might be bogus too. Or maybe we should look at it a little bit closer than just taking it at face value.
Researching fact or fiction, pulling the shroud of mystery from history.